we're going to get started today. We're going to continue our unit on time. And yesterday we talked about the different units of time. Who can remind me the 3 different units of time that we learned yesterday?
Looking for hands. Toshi, go Toshi.
The 3 units of time is hours, minutes, and seconds.
Great job. Hours, minutes, and seconds. So we know a second is really quick. There's not much you could do. You can snap your fingers in the matter of a second. A minute is a little bit longer. In a minute, you could probably get dressed in the morning. And an hour is even longer than that. An hour is about how long it takes for our guided reading lesson in school to be over, and a whole entire hour. All right, I want to see who remembers what we learned yesterday. I want to know how many minutes are in an hour. Let's see.
Mimi. Go, Mimi.
There are 60 seconds in 1 minute, 60 minutes in 1 hour.
Great, there's 60 seconds in a minute, and there's 60 minutes in an hour. Great job, Mimi. Today's exciting because we're going to learn how to tell time. We're going to learn how to tell time on an analog clock and on a digital clock. So this is a really fun lesson. We're also going to learn how to draw in the time on a clock, on an analog and a digital clock. So this is a really cool lesson. I'm going to share my screen with you right now. Give me a thumbs up if you see my clock. All right, everybody can see my clock. All right, when I look at this clock, I notice 2 hands. I notice a big hand, a longer hand, and a shorter hand. Who can remind me, what is the shorter hand? Is it the minute or the hour?
Let's go to Emily. Go, Emily.
It is the hour hand.
Great job. And Emily, what is the longer hand?
That is a minute hand.
Great job. So when I look at this clock right now, the first thing I'm going to do is I look at the hour hand. I see that the hour hand is pointing to the 1. If I extended this line longer, I would see it's right on the 1. Next, I look at the minute. So that tells me it's around 1 o'clock. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the minute hand, and I see that the minute hand is on the 12. When the minute hand is on the 12, that means that the time is right on the hour. So this
change your background. Sorry.
It's okay. This is exactly 1 o'clock. Pay attention to see what happens when I move the minute hand all the way around in a circle. I want somebody to raise their hand and tell me what happens to the clock when I move the minute hand all the way around in one full circle. Now it's back at the 12. What happened? What other movement happened?
Jesus.
What other movement happened is that the hour hand moved from the 1 to the 2.
Great job, Jesus. The hour hand moved from the 1 to the 2. So when 60 minutes passed and the minute hand went all the way around, a whole hour changed. It went from 1 to 2. Now, when I look at this clock again, first thing I look is at the hour hand. The hour is on the 2, and the minute hand is on the 12, which means it's on the hour, which means this time is exactly 2 o'clock. Let me do it one more time. Tell me what's changing as I move the minute hand all the way around the clock. Looking for hands raised. What happened to the hour hand now?
No, Margot.
What happens is that it went to a 2, now it went to a 3.
Great, that means an entire hour passed. It went from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. When the minute hand goes all the way around the clock, the hour hand's moving a little bit slower, and it's moving from one number to the next as an entire hour passes. Great job. All right, I'm going to open up my PowerPoint now.
While Ms. Koza is doing that, I want to give shout outs to the scholars that participated. So Emily, Tochi, Nomar, and Jesus, you all got points for participating. Keep it up.
Ooh, great job, guys. All right, so today we're going to get practice telling time on a digital and analog clock and drawing in the time on a digital and an analog clock.
We cannot see you, Salma.
You guys see my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So my first clock on the screen, who can remind me, what type of clock is this? Looking for hands raised.
Deborah, go.
This is a digital clock.
How do you know it's a digital clock, Deborah? Great job.
I know it's a digital clock because it has 2 dots and it has different digit codes.
Great, so it has digits and 2 dots. Great job, Deborah. Who can remind me, what is to the left side of the 2 dots? What do the numbers on the left of the 2 dots represent?
Go, Aiden.
It represents the minutes.
Who can evaluate what Aiden said? What do the numbers on the left side represent?
Nana.
It represents the hours.
Great job. So Aiden, the left side represents the hours. And who can remind me, what do the numbers on the right side represent? Go ahead, Aiden. What does the right side represent?
Sorry, Aiden, go ahead.
It represents the minutes.
Great job. It represents the minutes. So when I look at a digital clock, the first thing I'm going to do is look at the left hand side and see what hour it's at. I see a 4. All right, so I'm going to keep that in mind, and now I need to check my minutes. When I look to the right of the 2 dots, I see it's 0, 0. Just like on my analog clock, when the minute hand was at the 12, that means it's on the hour. On a digital clock, when it says 0, 0, that means it's exactly on the hour. So the time shown here is 4 o'clock. Let me do the next one as well. All right, tell what time is written on the clock. My first step is to look at the hour hand. And who can remind me, which one is the hour hand?
Let's hear from Obina.
The hour hand is to 1 and the minute hand is to 12.
Okay, great job. And how did you know that this was the hour hand? What
Because-
characteristics does it have?
Because it is a small hand, and also we know that small hands equal hours and long hands equal minutes.
Great job, Obina. So Obina said the smaller hand is the hour hand and the longer hand is the minute hand. My first step to telling time on an analog clock is to look at the hour hand. I see that the hour hand, or the shorter one, is pointing to the 1. That tells me that it's 1 something. And let's see where the minute hand is. The minute hand is pointing to the 12, which means it's exactly on the hour. So the time shown on this clock is 1 o'clock. Great job, guys.
Sam, we can't see you, and just sorry we cannot see you.
I'm gonna model 2 more before you're gonna help me with guided practice. Let's see, who's super focused right now, Ms. Rettenberg?
Looking at Nana. Nana's super focused. Anthony Guerrero's super focused.
Nice job, guys. All right, number 2, tell the time on the clock. Write the time. All right, so who can tell me, what type of clock is this, a digital or an analog?
Adriel.
Adriel, is this a digital or an analog clock? And how do you know?
It's a digital clock because it only has 2 dots and 2 zeros, and it represents 2 hours.
Oh, great. So it has 2 dots, it has digits, that tells me it's a digital clock. My first step to telling time at a digital clock is to look at the hours. And the hours are on which side of the 2 dots? On the left or on the right?
Let's hear from Amadou.
The hours?
Are on the left or the right of the 2 dots?
The
Great
left.
job, the left. So my first step is to look at the hours. I see there's a 2 there. My next step is to look at the minutes. I see that it says 0, 0. That tells me it's exactly on the hour. That means it's 2 o'clock. So when I go through my answer choices, A says 2:00. I could cross that out. That's not correct. B says 2 hours. That's not correct. That's not how we tell time. C says 2 o'clock. I think that's my answer, but I want to make sure I read my last one as well. D says 20 o'clock. No way, because I see a 2 in the hour hand, in the hour side. So that tells me the answer is C. All right.
Focus.
Now we're gonna have practice drawing hands on a clock to show the time. This is really cool. This is really fun. I'm gonna model this last one before we start guided practice. Can I have one scholar read the question out loud for me?
Let's hear from, want to see hands. Emanuela, go Emanuela.
Draw the hands on the analog clock to show the time written.
Great. So I'm going to read and interpret the question. I want to think, what is this question asking? So I see that there's a time written. It says 2 o'clock, and the question's asking me to draw the hands to represent 2 o'clock. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to show you my doc cam. And here, I made a little clock for you guys so that I could show you how I'm going to draw it. So the time said 2 o'clock. You guys see my doc cam, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So here I have an analog clock, and I need to draw in the hands to represent 2 o'clock. My first step is to draw the hour hand. I need the hour hand to point to the 2. But this is the really important thing. The hour hand must look shorter than the minute hand, or else the person reading the clock is going to be confused.
I mean eyes.
So when I draw my hour hand, I'm going to draw it halfway in between the middle and the number. And for some of you, if you want to draw and make sure that that's in line with the 2, you could take a pencil, make a dotted line, and continue it. Great. So this really shows me that this short arrow is pointing to the 2.
Hands in focus.
I need to represent 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock tells me that it's right on the hour. And when it's right on the hour, or when it's exactly 2 o'clock, I know the minute hand needs to be pointed at the 12. And I know the minute hand must be longer than the hour hand. So when you draw your minute hand, you can make it reach all the way to the number to make sure you're representing it correctly.
Edward hands.
All right, now I need your help as we start guided practice. Today, a lot of you should have guided practice in your packet. So everybody take a minute to turn to your weekly material and go to Friday's class packet. If you have it, great. If you don't have it, that's fine. All right, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to flip to it if you have it. Remember, if you don't, you're following along on your screen, and that's okay.
Make sure you're sitting up straight, that we can see you on the camera, that you're not laying down, you're not slouching, you're sitting up nice and tall, and that you're sitting in scholar to show us that you are absolutely ready. Like Obina looks great in page 1, Kaden looks great in page 2, so does Fanta. Page 3, Aliani, Nico looks absolutely stunning. Andre looks great. Page
All right,
4.
so my first step of the mathematician's plan is to do what? Looking for a hand raised? That's my first step of the mathematician's plan.
Let's hear, looking for hands. I don't see very many hands. Jeremy.
Great.
What's the first step
Jeremy,
of the
what's the
mathematician's plan?
The first thing we have to do is
Who can help Jeremy out? Mamadou. Mamadou's gone. Go ahead, Mamadou.
show what time is showing. Write the time.
All right, so you did the first step, but I just want to remind you the first step of the mathematician's plan is to read and interpret the question. I want to read and I want to think, what is this question asking me? All right, Mamadou, so you read it already. You said, tell what time is shown. So I'm going to need to look at the clock and I want to think, what time is being shown here? Then I need to write the time. Thinking of my plan to solve, there's two things I need to do. I need to first use the hour and minute hand to tell me what time is represented. And then I need to write the time. All right, who can help me out? What is the first hand that we look at on an analog clock when telling time?
Go Egypt.
The first hand we look at is the minute hand.
Who can evaluate what Egypt said?
Aliani?
Yeah, go ahead, Eden Sunshine.
Oh, sorry, Aliani.
Eden Sunshine, are we going to look at the hour or the minute hand first?
We're gonna look at the
So I'll help you out. We're going to look at the hour hand first. We're going to look at the hour hand first. And we know the hour hand is shorter. Where is the hour hand pointing to in this clock?
Sarajo.
it is pointing at the 9.
Great, it's pointing at the 9. So I know it's going to be 9 something. Let's look at the minute hand next. Where is the minute hand pointing at? Go
Toshi.
ahead. Oh, yeah.
Go down there.
Toshi, where is the
Toshi, go
minute
ahead.
hand pointing?
The minute hand is pointing to the 12.
The minute hand is pointing to the 12, which tells me it's on the hour. So Tochi, what time is shown on this clock?
The time is 9:12.
Who can evaluate what Tochi said? Tochi said it's 9:12.
Looking for a hand. Mariah.
It is 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock. Great job, Mariah. Whenever there's an analog clock, I'm also going to write it on this side in digital form. That'll help me keep track of the time and what this represents. So I'm going to also draw it in digital form, 9 o'clock. And now I need to write the time on the answer line provided. So it says blank o'clock. So I'm going to write it like this, 9 o'clock. All right, who can read question number 2? Looking for a scholar whose hand is raised.
Mustafa, go.
Which option tells the time on the clock correctly?
Great. So Mustafa, it says which is telling the time on the clock correctly. Mustafa, can you read what time is represented on this digital clock?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Great job. All right, all scholars, look at all the answer choices and find which one represents the time shown. So if you think it's A, you're going to hold up a number 1. If you think it's B, you're going to hold up a 2 on your fingers, a 3, or a 4. Find your answer choice, and we're going to do a shake, shake, show. You're going to show me which is the correct answer. Is it 1 or A, 2, 3, or 4? All right, ready? Which one shows 4 o'clock accurately? Shake, shake, show. Looking through the pages, I want to see everybody's fingers up. Which is the correct answer choice? Ms. Hogan, can you call on a scholar who has the correct
Let's
answer?
go Tegan.
TJ.
Oh, TJ, 1 second. Now go.
I know it's 4 o'clock because even though it's a digit clock, but even though if I don't see an analog clock, I know it's still 4 o'clock because the 4 is an hour, but there's no minutes.
Great job, TJ. So you were able to read the digital clock by knowing the 4 is in the hours place And there's no minutes, which tells me it's exactly 4 o'clock. And just like you say it out loud, when you say 4 o'clock out loud, A is the best answer choice that represents that. All right, pick up your pencil because now we're going to get to draw the hands. And this is my favorite thing to do with time. Who can read the question out loud for me? Looking for a scholar who's raising their hand. Who can read number 3 for me?
Let's go, Matthew. Matthew Scott.
Draw hands on the clock to show 7 o'clock. Then write the time in digital
notation. Great job, Matt. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this question. So step 1 of the mathematician's plan is super important because I really want to keep track of what's happening in this question. So I'm going to use my pen to write on top of some parts of this question to make sure I really interpreted the question correctly. So pick up your pencil and who can tell me how can we invest in this question?
Let's go to looking for hands. Somebody different who hasn't shared already. Let's hear from Andre.
What we have to do is we have to point the small hand halfway. We have to put the
I'm gonna pause you, Andre, because you're using your plan to solve, but I want to know, how should I invest in this question? Go ahead, Andre. How can I invest in this question?
You should invest by underlining draw hands.
Great. I need to draw hands on the clock. Great.
And then you should underline, write the time in digital notation.
Great. Then I need to write it in digital form. I'm also on top of where it says 7 o'clock. I'm going to write 7 o'clock in digital form because that helps me keep track of it and really understand what this word form means. All right, now we need to use our plan to solve. Remember, we always start with the hour hand. Who can tell me what's the first thing I need to do to solve this question?
Let's hear from Kofi. Go, Kofi.
First we have to point the hour hand at 7 o'clock.
Great job, Kofi. I need to point the hour hand. I always start with the hour hand. Now, Kofi, drawing the hour hand is really important. Why? How do I need to draw it?
You have to draw it halfway from the numbers so it doesn't look like the minute hand.
Exactly. I need to draw it halfway so it doesn't look like it's the minute hand, or else people telling time would get confused. Go ahead and do this on your paper if you have your packet. And if you have a pencil, sometimes you can continue it with a dotted line to make sure that it really reaches the 7 and then erase it. It must be halfway between the dot and the 7. If it's all the way at the 7, then it would be wrong. It would be a different time. I should see everyone's pencils moving, making sure if you have the packet, you're drawing the hour hand. All right, what's my next step in my plan to solve? What's the next thing I should do? I have my hour hand, looking for a hand raised.
Let's see who have. Katie, go.
Yeah. Next, you point the hour hand to the 12.
So Kaylee, so answer that again, and careful with what words you're using. Think about it. What hand am I pointing to the 12?
The minute hand.
The minute hand. Great job. Kaylee, how should I draw my minute hand?
You need to draw your minute hand in the middle of the 12.
Right at the 12, in the middle. Should I draw the line up to here or up to here?
You have to draw the minute hand longer than the hour hand.
Great job, Kaylee. It must be longer than the hour hand. Go ahead and draw your minute hand. It should reach all the way up to the 12. Now what I've represented on my clock is 7 o'clock. I also need to remember part 2 of the question, write the time in digital notation. What is the left side of the 2 dots represent in a digital clock?
Fanta.
It represents the hour hand.
Great job, Fanta. What does the right side of the 2 dots represent? Looking for someone new?
Let's hear from Edward. Go, Edward.
Let's see. And the other side of the clock is the minutes.
Great job. It's the minute hand. It's the minute side. So anything on the right is going to represent the minutes. Anything on the left is going to represent the hour. How should I write it in digital form?
Let's go, Naima.
You should read it like 7 o'clock.
And how am I going to represent a clock? So what should I put on the left side? What number?
A 7.
Great. And what should I put on the right side?
You should put a 0.
Just 1 0?
No, 2 0.
Great, 2 zeros. That tells me it's right on the hour. It's exactly 7 o'clock. All right, great job today. We're going to start independent practice now. So a lot of you, for the first time, are going to have your packets for independent practice, which is really exciting. We're going to go into breakout rooms now. And I can't wait for you to show your teachers what you just learned today.